All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for episode number 12 of the MLB Guardcast. I am Mike Vorhies. He is Bryan Shaw, the bringer of all good news. And boy, oh boy, Bryan, do we need some good news.
Yeah, we do need some good news. We had talked about on our last episode, just things were fine, but we were a little negative that, all right, things could get better or they should get better. And they didn't get better. And there was some winnable games in there, some games that that the Guardians just should have taken care of and they didn't. And I got a vibe much like the Cavaliers series where it just kind of felt like they didn't want to play or they didn't want to be playing. I know it was some cold, nasty games and some cold, nasty weather, but come on, guys.
Yeah, it's tough. It really was. We'll get into our Cleveland Guardians, but first, Bryan, do you know someone that is looking to spruce up their company's logo or website? If you do, I've got great news. And if you're looking for help with your digital arts and marketing, then you need to look no further than NovaDigitalArts. You can check out their work at NovaDigitalArts at iCloud.com. Tell them that the MLB Guardcast sent you. NovaDigitalArts, located in Greene, Ohio. Give Derek a call at 234-716-1687. They have been creating magic since 2007. Shout out to Nova Digital Arts, our fantastic sponsor. But let's dive right in, Bryan. You said it. Our Guardians have fallen flat on their faces, unfortunately. Our record now through the 25 games that we have played, and that does include 2 rainouts and 2 doubleheaders. We are 12-13, folks. We are now 1 game under 500. We had some winnable series. We played the Nationals, the Tigers, the Marlins, and the Rockies, and we went 5-7. No bueno. We get swept in 2 doubleheaders. I mean, it's not good. These teams we should have beaten. I mean, at least went 2-1. I mean, the Nationals we did. We went 2-1. And then the Tigers, Marlins, and Rockies, I mean, we went 3-6. Not the way you want to do it, especially when we had we had high hopes for this team. Now, obviously, the season is still very, very young, and I'm not jumping ship. I will never abandon ship here, but
Yeah, and I have some things to say about that. But the Rockies one does bug me
oh my goodness,
because they had
yes.
6 wins coming into the series. I don't think they had won a series at that point.
No,
They,
they
they
had
were
not.
27th in ERA, and they shut you out in one game and gave up only 1 run in another game. That to
They
me,
had the
right?
worst earn run average of all the starting pitching staffs in all of baseball. And they were missing Herman Marquez and I know he pitched the 3rd game of the series. But Austin Gomber came into the game. His earn run average was like 13. And we made him look like a Cy Young Award. Like we
Yeah,
couldn't hit anything he
they
was throwing.
it like I said, it felt like they didn't want to play. And I went to one of those double headers. It was cold. I will admit it was cold. I was wrapped up in a blanket. It wasn't great to be there, but that's that's just what happens this time of year. Here's the thing. We do this every single year. We have the same conversation every single year. I have
Yes,
the
we
records
do.
of the Tito tenure.
Yeah.
And
You shared that on Twitter and I laughed hysterically
I
because I
did. And I
go,
do this
wow,
every year. I always keep
where
track
have
of
I
the
seen this
records.
before?
But
Yeah.
this was this I updated it for 25 games. We had 12 wins in 2013, 11 wins in 2014, 9 in 15. That wasn't a great year. In 2016 we were 13-12, 17 and 18, 14 wins, up to 15 wins in 2019. 2020, the COVID year, we were 16-9 at this point. That's the outlier. And then the last 3 years, we have been 12-13 at this point. Last 3 years.
And let's remember, in 2016, the team went to the World Series. You said they were 13-12.
Mm-hmm.
17 and 18, they had a great roster.
Mm-hmm. And we're only 14 and
2020,
11.
2020, I don't really count. That's a COVID year, and we only played 60 games. But
and it was later in the year at that point. Like, we didn't start off in April, and they were just playing the AL and NL Central over and over.
And what were we last year?
12-13, and then also 2021 we were 12-13.
What happened last year? Didn't we go to the playoffs?
We did. We went
lost
to the
Yankees. Okay, so folks, again, it's still early. This is normal behavior.
However,
yeah,
you can still be a little bit annoyed by the offense, because
oh my goodness, yes. Let's talk about
they
the
had
offense.
22 more runs at this point in the season last year. 117 runs versus 95. The difference is there were 5 games last year at this point where they had more than 8 runs. We've only had 2 of those. So they've been playing closer games. Yeah. Same record, way more runs. Runs against were almost identical. Okay. And I tweeted this, and people are talking about like rookies and stuff. Do you recall who at this point last year was the everyday right fielder?
Last year?
Mm-hmm. At this point through the season,
it wasn't Oscar. It wasn't
Oscar Gonzalez got called up in late May.
It was Oscar Mercado, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Oscar Mercado, right?
Who's currently with the Cardinals AAA team. Yes, that guy. Yep.
But Oscar Mercado did have a very good start to the season last year. Yeah. He was hitting a bunch of dingers.
He did. He came out. He reminded me of what Roman Quinn did in spring training. He came out hot, and everybody was like, "Oh my, here's the guy we wanted." And then
but also remember, like, at this point last year, we were starting Owen Miller at the cleanup spot, and we were even talking about how he was doing really well at that cleanup spot. Things are going to change. Things are going to adjust. I don't want to dwell on the negative, because I said, we do the same thing every year. We get mad. And I was actually having a conversation. I ran into Anthony Lima on before the Cavaliers game.
Name dropper.
Him and Ken Carmen had mentioned the same thing, the record posting, and basically they had said on their show, like, Tito deserves the benefit of the doubt here. And I had told him the reason I started to do this, I think I started to do it in like 2018, maybe 2019, because I felt like people were paying more attention to it, or actually just like realizing it, that they started slow. And the reason being is because the Cavaliers weren't good at that time. From 14 to, I think it was 14 to 17, LeBron's here. The Cavaliers are going to the finals each year. So people aren't paying attention to the Guardians, to the Indians at that point until June and July. And at that point, they're already doing well. It's Indian summer. It's, they're going on win streaks and looking great. But when the Cavaliers are terrible and they're not making the playoffs, then, well, what do people start to do? Okay, they're going to pay attention to baseball a little bit more. And they're starting off slow in 2018 and starting off slow in 2019. So I've just felt like they were, paying attention more, and then people just weren't realizing that this is always the case.
Yeah. Well, if you remember too, on our last episode, I bashed Josh Bell, our gigantic free agent signing. I think he was hitting 109, and we were talking about, hey, let's take him out of the lineup. Let's let him figure some things out. Well, as soon as the episode aired, I believe once he went to Washington, which is who he played for last year, being in that ballpark, he was very comfortable, and he looked like he was starting to heat up. So he was hitting 109. He's now hitting 211. He's also hit 2 home runs, and now he's tied with in second on the team with 11 RBIs. He's slowly coming around.
Yeah, I mentioned about his launch angle and how it was in the negative. He's bumped it up to 2.6. His career average is 8.4. So he's still going to come back around.
And then Jose Ramirez, he hadn't hit a single home run yet after our last episode. All of a sudden, he's now hit 3 home runs. He leads the team with 16 RBIs, and he's our highest batter at 271. So we know when we talked last time, the batting averages were higher. Zunino was hitting over 300. So was Miles Straw. So was Andres Jimenez. They've all dipped. We're swinging at bad. We're swinging at bad pitches.
And not just that. but there's no reason that, I mean, you would not have it expected that your highest batting averages would be Straw and Zanino
Right.
and but they were. But now you have, Jose's getting up there. Stephen Kwan has struggled a little bit. He just had a 3-game hit streak, I believe.
Yep.
One of the games that they lost, I think Kwan had all 3 of the only hits of the game.
No, we had 4 hits in that game, and Kwan had 3 of them.
Okay, that's what it was.
I couldn't believe what I saw. But yes, I mean, guys, we know this team's a little bit slow. I'm not going to hit the panic button. And you know why, Brian, that I'm not going to hit the panic button? Because once again, the Cleveland Guardians have shown, what do we have a plethora of?
They're a pitching factory.
Good pitchers.
They
Welcome to the team,
factory.
Logan Allen and Tanner Bybee. They're here, guys. They both made their MLB debuts last week. Logan Allen pitched against Miami, gave him 6 innings. He struck out 8, walked 1, only gave up 1 run. He looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Tanner Bybee starts the game. I couldn't believe it. You and I were texting each other when the news broke on Wednesday that the Guardians needed a starting pitcher. Bybee was supposed to pitch in Columbus the night before. He doesn't make his start. He gets replaced by Daniel Norris, and everybody's like, oh, it's time. It's coming. It's coming. Well, finally, the team announced. Bybee started against the Rockies, got us our only win in that series. Gave him 5 2/3 innings, struck out 8. He didn't walk a single batter, only gave up the 1 run. He looked extremely confident, had a heck of a curveball.
His curveball drops like Karinchak's.
Goodness. Yeah.
It's really, really nice if you didn't get a chance to see it. So really, really nice curveball. And there was the talk with him was how much his velocity has gone up over the past couple of years. So imagine basically his curveball, or I mean, his fastball is not quite as fast as Karinchak's, but it's close. And maybe his curveball doesn't quite have the drop that Karinchak's does. But just take Karinchak, add in a couple of extra pitches, and then extend that over 6 innings, and that's your Tanner Bybee. And if you remember, Tanner's one of the guys that Marco Lanave talked with us about like who's the up and coming, and he's like, Tanner Bybee, keep an eye out for that.
Watch out, yeah.
And then if you want to be even more excited too, Gavin Williams gets called up to AAA, and he just keeps on keeping on, doing the exact same thing he was doing in AA. He looks really good. AAA. So he might be up here by the end of the season too.
Oh yeah, I was extremely high on him when we drafted him, and I thought, wow, this guy's going to be really, really good. And he has blown through the rankings of minor league baseball.
And that's not even talking about Daniel Espino, who probably is not going to play much this season. He seems to have gotten shut down again. But with all the injuries that we've had, it's really nice to see these guys come up. It's just their first starts, understood. Guys are going to go up and down. Tim Herron had a great first appearance.
Oh, opening day for him. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but
4 strikeouts, and his ERA is now just a little south of 7. And so, yeah, they sent him down to try to work some things out. But our future is bright.
Yeah. And Savali, speaking of the pitching and injuries. So Savali's 15 days, his minimum 15 days, because I looked at that rule to see, do they have to make a decision? They don't have to activate him or do anything. It's just a minimum of 15 days. And he's hit that 15-day mark. It was the 10th that he was put on the IL. We haven't heard squat about him, not from any of the beat reporters or anything. So, but they also haven't put him on the 60. And you would think if he wasn't close or about to, start pitching bullpens or something, they would have made that move instead of cutting Connor Pilkington.
Yeah, that was a move that I know when I text you, that shocked me. Pilkington, you don't have to remember his name or say it right as of yet.
I bet you he's.
I haven't heard if he was picked up or anything by anybody. And I know we talked about Bybee and Allen, but Peyton Battenfield deserves a shout out too.
He does. Yes.
That kid came up. He's had one bad outing, but he's pitched very well. The Guardians have a bright future with this rotation as long as we don't have any more severe injuries. Circling back to what you had said, Brian, about Savali, I think they're keeping that option open in case they have to make another roster move. I really do. We talked about it when they put him on the 15. We're like, well, for an oblique, that 15 days seems a bit light. That just
It does,
that's
because that, if you remember, I believe was the Fran Mill injury last year, and he was out 2 months.
Yeah.
And you know, I know it's batting versus pitching, but you're still using
You
those
need your core.
muscles.
Right.
So I mean, I guess it depends how bad the strain was, or if it was just tightness, or, you know, whatever. But yeah, I'm not sure, you know, and it's hard to say until, you know, Tito says something about it, or you know, one of the beat reporters is able to report on it. But it's just interesting. It's just something to, you know,
Something
think
for us
about
to
and
keep
watch.
keep our eye on. We'll see what happens. I want to shout out an unfamiliar name, not one we've mentioned a lot here on our podcast, Brian, and that's Eli Morgan. Can we talk about Eli Morgan for just a second? He's pitched in 9 games this year. He's thrown 11 and 2/3 innings, and he's given up not 1 run, 0 runs. He's only walked 2. He has struck out 15, and he has been an anchor out of our bullpen. We didn't know if he was going to be a starter or a reliever, and now he has solidified that bullpen role. I want to see him get into some more high leverage situations because I want to see how he handles himself, because he has been phenomenal. Him, Trevor Stephan, that duo has been dynamic.
Yeah, and Eli towards the end of last year did scare me a little bit. He had some struggles. I think, I forget what pitch it was, but basically teams were keying in on either his curveball or his changeup, and it was cutting off like half the plate. And so basically they had started to say, like, okay, don't pitch that, and so that was limiting his pitches. But yeah, our buddy at Cleveland Stats, last 13 appearances, no earned runs in 17 innings pitched, like you said. So 13 appearances, that dates back to September 28th.
Hey guys,
So,
Eli Morgan's pretty good. Keep an eye on.
you know, as much as you know, there was times last year where he made me want to pull my hair out. You know, he's, like you said, he's been a nice anchor in that spot, whereas, you know, James Karinchak still having his struggles, and so they put him in. It looks like they've kind of moved him out of that 8th inning role,
It has.
and I think that needs to be the case, and he needs some fewer leverage spots. He's had his struggles as of recently.
You spoke of Mr. Karinchak. He's 0-3 with a 6.23 earned run average. In 13 innings, he's given up 9 runs. He's walked 5. He has struck out 17, but he's also given up 4 home runs. That's a lot. In only 13 innings, that's a lot. He has struggled with the pitch clock. He has not looked comfortable at all when he's out there. He looks frazzled all the time. And I agree. He's been moved out of that high leverage situation. Stephan and Morgan, I think, need to be inserted. Also, Angel De Los Santos, another good Rule 5 pickup. I think that's what he was. Another guy
He was
out
just
of
a free
nowhere.
agent.
Oh well,
He was just
another diamond.
I think he was just out of the garbage heap.
Another diamond in the rough that we will take
from like
he's been
Pittsburgh
great.
or something.
Henches is very close to
I was just gonna say
back.
That's the other thing, is getting Sam Henches back. I think will be very valuable, especially now that you sent Tim Herron down, because you need that lefty.
Right, and I know that Henches has one more rehab appearance, and that will be in AAA with the Clippers. And then the Guardians are going to have to make a roster decision. They're going to need to bring him back. So then does Savale go to the 60-day to create that roster spot? Who gets sent down? Because the 26-man, we're going to need a spot. So yeah, it's going to get interesting here coming up.
Well, the other option you have too, and I feel like this is also coming soon because they haven't done it much, is you're not using Valoria. He's just sitting there. Like they had talked about, you know, doing all these like pinch hitting rotations and things like that, and why you needed him, and it just really hasn't happened. It hasn't materialized. Maybe just the situation hasn't presented itself. So I just feel like you don't need him. And so that frees up a 40-man, that frees up a roster spot, and then you can
Right.
have an extra pitcher. But we were talking about Sam Hentges and needing that lefty. That's why I like Logan Allen too, because
Yeah.
he's a lefty starter, which we haven't had in forever.
Mm-mm.
And so, when you talk about kind of the big prospects of Espino, Bybee, Williams, Allen is kind of like that guy left off. And so I
Mhm.
really hope that, he does make a name for himself and he can come on. And let's remember, this is the other Logan Allen. This isn't the first Logan Allen
This is
from a couple years
Logan
ago.
T. Allen. I guess
Yeah.
that's how we're supposed to refer to him. Logan T. Allen, not the other Logan Allen, whom I don't know who he's even pitching for at this point in his career. I don't even think he's on a team. I could be wrong. He could be with the Orioles
I did
minor
see
league system, I think.
I did
think.
see somewhere
I mean, good
because
for
I
him.
was
I hope he
looking up
bounces back.
because I was
do.
looking up our Logan Allen on Baseball Savant.
Yeah, and unfortunately there's two. Obviously, like when I search for you, I get Bryan Shaw. I also get Bryan Shaw, the point guard that used to play for the LA Lakers.
Oh,
My
right.
son honestly thinks that you're that guy because you share the same name.
And there's also
it's
strongman Bryan Shaw. So there's a
exactly.
lot of
So
us out there.
yeah, exactly. I love it.
Yeah. Other Logan Allen is not with a ball club right now.
Hopefully he links up with somebody. Somebody
You
will
you were
hopefully.
right. He has a Colorado hat on in his baseball reference photo.
Yeah, Colorado had signed him in spring training, but I don't believe he made the team.
Yeah, he played his last game. His last actual game was with Baltimore. You were you were right about
That's
that.
who I thought took a stab at him, but it
Mhm.
is what it is. Bringing up the catcher situation really quick. Cam Gallagher to me is not that guy. I know he's defensive minded, and I know that I love offense. When is it time to call up Bo Naylor? He's tearing it up in AAA. He's hitting the ball extremely well. His defense has been great. When do we let him play?
Can I give you the likely Tito answer?
Sure.
When it
Go
warms
ahead.
up.
Exactly. That's kind of my thought too.
Probably
I think
in
it's
June.
coming. I think it's coming.
I mean, Gallagher's been fine.
He's been serviceable. That'll be the term. Serviceable.
He's a typical backup catcher.
Yeah.
I mean, he's no worse than Luke Mailey. He's no worse than who's the guy that we had before that's been with the Red Sox?
Oh, Kevin Plawecki.
Yeah, Plawecki, Papa Plawecki.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's no worse than any of those guys. He's a guy.
I know. I want Naylor so bad. I see his stats. I see how bad how good he's playing. I really want to see him in our lineup.
But what do you do then? Do you split time evenly with Zunino and Naylor? Because do you want Naylor only playing every fifth day?
No. Here's the wonderful thing. Okay, we have that DH position, and I think that you can get creative. His brother, Josh Naylor, cannot hit lefties very well. I think that you can insert Bo Naylor into that lineup and let him hit. He doesn't have to catch. I like Mike Zunino. I think he was an under the radar signing. I don't want to take at bats away from him, but I think you have that DH spot where you can kind of flip and rotate and get some guys some at bats. I want to see Will Brennan play every day. I think he needs to be our right fielder. I think SpongeBob did phenomenal things for us last year, but this year he just hasn't found it. He'll be a bat off the bench.
I still think they're going to continue with the righty lefty.
I know, and I wish they wouldn't. I think Brennan would be the better option every day. I think he can do it, but I could be wrong.
Well, but they've also been spelling Miles Straw a little bit and playing Brennan center and then Oscar in right field. So if you do want to give Brennan more at bats, which it seems like they do, they've been going that route as well.
You know what this circles back to, Brian, is how great our future looks. We have some talent. We have pitchers in the farm system that if they're not here, they will be here soon. The team's going to have to make some decisions. I agree with you. I think Viloria will leave the team at some point, whether they try to send him to AAA. Will he accept it? Will he not? Who knows? Cam Gallagher, same thing. If you call up Bo Naylor, he's obviously the guy that will leave.
Well, and don't
Because,
forget, I think we just cut Brian Lavastida, another catcher, right?
well, no, he was designated for assignment. He was not claimed by anyone.
So did
So
he?
I believe he is still with the Akron Rubber Ducks. He is
Okay.
just no longer on the 40-man
Right.
roster.
Right. Well, when I say cut, I mean DFA,
Right.
and then
He
you
was
go through the
not.
waiver system.
I
And
did not see him picked up by anybody. I do believe he is still with the
So
Akron Rubber
he
Ducks.
accepted his assignment in.
I don't think
Akron.
he had a choice because he doesn't have enough major league at bats or
Oh,
service
okay.
time to
To
say yes or no.
So to opt for free agency.
Right. I'm
Right.
actually going to Google that really quick because I'm
Well,
curious.
while you're doing that, I was looking at splits for Josh, and yes, he is not batting well against lefties this season. In 23 plate appearances, he only has an 0.91 batting average. So, 1 RBI, only 2 hits. He just needs to pick it up in general a little bit. He has been struggling a bit at the plate, but this is this is kind of one of those things where it's like take your wins as you can get them. I forget if it was in the loss or if it was in the 4-1 victory, but against Colorado, he almost blasted a grand slam, and it was just fouls. So I know, like, ifs and buts, almost, horseshoes, hand grenades, all those good things, but it's just a good sign that he was having a more quality at bat and potentially almost had a monster grand slam. And so I think that's a sign of good things to come. But you're right. Absolutely not hitting well against lefties this season.
So Brian Lavastida is still currently on waivers. So
yeah,
not
I think
enough
it's a
time
week.
has passed. Yeah, it's only been 5 days. He was DFA'd on the 23rd. Today's the 28th. So 5 days, still a little bit of time.
So same thing with Pilkington. Like, we won't know
Yep.
really anything until if he passes through waivers until that week. Lavastida probably absolutely will. Pilkington, I think he will too. I think they were kind of banking on that. I'm sure that they want to bring him back and have him in AAA.
They needed the 40-man
he hasn't
spot,
been bad
right?
by any means.
They just needed his spot on the 40-man.
Yeah.
That's just, and we talked about this 2 years ago. We've talked about it last year. We're going to talk about it this year a bunch. We have a loaded 40. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be difficult decisions coming.
Yeah.
Where guys that we may not want to see go have to go. And that's just, it's a business.
You have a roster crunch right now. You really don't have a lot of open spots, except you're carrying a third catcher.
Right.
You're carrying,
for no reason.
Well, you're carrying
really.
4 catchers in your 40.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that is going to be the next spot.
Yeah, it's going to have to be. We're going to either need another outfielder if Oscar Gonzalez can't figure it out. We may need another infielder. Tyler Freeman may be called back up. Brian Rocchio may be called back up. There's going to be some flexibility coming. But yes, having that third catcher is pointless to me right now, especially when they're not doing things that they said they would do. And he hasn't had a hit yet in like the 10 games he's appeared in. So we need something.
Well, and if you do want an infusion of offense, I think at some point soon here, you might have to think about flipping Gabby Arias and Tyler Freeman and giving Tyler Freeman that next spot to be that utility guy and see if he can maybe spark a little more offense at times where while you're rotating those DH spots of rotating, Jose and DH, Freeman plays third, Rosario DHs, Freeman plays shortstop, and so on and so forth, and things like that, to give guys a little bit of a break. But it was an unfortunate couple of weeks, but some promising things have happened. Like we mentioned, the pitching staff, the young pitchers, much like the roster at the beginning of last year looked very different, where Yu Chang was gone and Oscar Mercado was gone and Bobby Bradley was gone. I think you're going to see an infusion of pitching of young guys this season.
Yeah.
So it's some exciting stuff.
Well, and the games don't get any easier. We've got a 3-game series that starts in Boston tonight. I love Fenway Park. one of my absolute all-time favorite stadiums. Cannot wait to watch these 3 games. Cleveland's got to show up. It doesn't get easier after that. We go to New York. We play 3 against those hated Yankees. And then we come home and play 3 against the Twins, and then 3 at home versus Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout and the Angels. So, guys, it's not going to get harder, or it's not going to get easier. The games are getting harder. So I would like to see this team a few games above 500 the next time we record. That's my hope. The baseball season is very long. I'm not getting upset. I'm not abandoning ship.
As I've said, a few times, every team wins 60 games, every team loses 60 games. And if you are going to, freak out about every series loss and every loss, you're going to have a lot of bad days.
You're going to have a heart attack too. That stress isn't good for you. It's not.
And as we've talked about and shown you, this team just has a pattern. They have a thing. And what's weird is so I tracked all hits, all runs, temperature, and all of that in 2019. The only hitter left from that team is Jose Ramirez. They still do the same thing. It's just so weird.
Jose, I love it.
And it's less impactful. It was less impactful to the opponent for some reason. Like Miami came to Cleveland. It's 45 degrees and rainy, and they had no problems.
No, they're
not particularly good.
Well,
we're not terrible, but they're not great.
No, and here's what I'm gonna say. This team has peaks and valleys. It's the roller coaster of baseball, and it's a roller coaster of being a Guardians fan. We've seen what this team is capable of. We know what they can do. They'll turn it on at some point. They have to, right? I mean, it's just kind of how it goes. I'll take the smoke, as my shirt says.
What did they win? Smoke. Didn't they win like 20-something games in September last year, or in August?
It's fine. I'm not worried yet. This team is going to do something. It's like the meme where the guy's taking the stick and do something.
I made that meme for the Cavaliers offense. Do something.
Gosh, we're not going to talk about the Cavs.
Right. This isn't a Cavs podcast.
We're not talking about the Cavs. We're not talking about the Browns. This is Guardians country right now. And we're all in. Brian, where can they find us? Where can they find you on social media?
Bryan Shaw on Facebook, @WeatherShaw on Twitter. We are Guardcast MLB on Twitter. You can find us on Apple and Spotify if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, we're also on YouTube. So you can see our expressions or watch us look up stats if that's what you
exactly
do, things like that.
Or carry on side conversations with folks not in the podcast or on screen that has happened.
Or random ads that pop up on Baseball Reference while we have the website up. But Mike, where can people find you?
I am on Facebook and Twitter @Mike Vorhies. I may actually dabble into Instagram this weekend. Not an app that I've used a bunch, but I'll keep you all posted. If I join the Instagram nation, you guys will be the first to know.
All right. We will talk to you all in 2 weeks.
Go Guards. Don't panic. Long season, guys. Long season.